Howdy everyone, it's Reese, aka Bearman Prime, on this September 9th. Welcome back to my Read the Bible in a Year series. Thank you again for joining me. God bless you all. From the top right hand corner for the rest of the playlist, and please hit that like button, subscribe button, and notification bell so you don't miss it. Okay, so spoiler alert, we're actually coming to the end of Jesus' earthly ministry. We're getting close to that point, okay? And we know that because the last couple days we've looked into the Word. We've seen Jesus has been talking a lot about the end times, not only the destruction of Jerusalem by the Roman Empire in the near future, but also the far future where he will return at his second coming. And then the tribulation will happen and the establishment of his heavenly kingdom on earth. So he's talking about all these things that we know, because we know he's preparing his followers for that time, for that purpose, to be ready for those times. So we know that he's approaching the end of his earthly ministry. He's preparing himself to die as well. Let's continue on. Let's see where he goes with this. Let's go over to Matthew 25 and pick it up in verse 1, where he's going to tell a couple of stories that help us paint a better picture of what these end times will be like. So Matthew 25, verse 1. Jesus is saying again, "At that time, God's kingdom will be like 10 girls who went to wait for the bridegroom. They took their lamps with them. 5 of the girls were foolish, and 5 were wise. The foolish girls took their lamps with them, but they did not take extra oil for the lamps. The wise girls took their lamps and more oil in jars. When the bridegroom was very late, the girls could not keep their eyes open, and they all fell asleep. At midnight, someone announced, 'The bridegroom is coming. Come and meet him.' Then all the girls woke up. They made their lamps ready. But the foolish girls said to the wise girls, 'Give us some of your oil. The oil in our lamps is all gone.' The wise girls answered, 'No, the oil we have might not be enough for all of us. But go to those who sell oil and buy some for yourselves.' So the foolish girls went to buy oil. While they were gone, the bridegroom came. The girls who were ready went in with the bridegroom to the wedding feast. Then the door was closed and locked. Later the other girls came. They said, 'Sir, sir, open the door to let us in.' But the bridegroom answered, 'Certainly not. I don't even know you.' So always be ready. You don't know the day or the time when the Son of Man will come." Verse 14. "At that time, God's kingdom will also be like a man leaving home to travel to another place for a visit. Before he left, he talked with his servants. He told his servants to take care of his things while he was gone. He decided how much each servant would be able to care for. The man gave one servant 5 bags of money. He gave another servant 2 bags, and he gave a third servant 1 bag. Then he left. The servant who got 5 bags went quickly to invest the money. Those 5 bags of money earned 5 more. It was the same with the servant who had 2 bags. That servant invested the money and earned 2 more. But the servant who got 1 bag of money went away and dug a hole in the ground. Then he hid his master's money in the hole. After a long time, the master came home. He asked the servants what they did with his money. The servant who got 5 bags brought that amount and 5 more bags of money to the master. The servant said, 'Master, you trusted me to care for 5 bags of money, so I used them to earn 5 more.' The master answered, 'You did right. You are a good servant who can be trusted. You did well with that small amount of money, so I will let you care for much greater things. Come and share my happiness with me.' Then the servant who got 2 bags of money came to the master. The servant said, 'Master, you gave me 2 bags of money to care for, so I used your 2 bags to earn 2 more.' The master answered, 'You did right. You are a good servant who can be trusted. You did well with a small amount of money, so I will let you care for much greater things. Come and share my happiness with me.' Then the servant who got 1 bag of money came to the master. The servant said, 'Master, I knew you were a very hard man. You harvest what you did not plant. You gather crops where you did not put any seed. So I was afraid. I went and hid your money in the ground. Here is the 1 bag of money you gave me.' The master answered, You are a bad and lazy servant. You say you knew that I harvest what I did not plant and that I gather crops where I did not put any seed. So you should have put my money in the bank. Then when I came home, I would get my money back, and I would also get the interest that my money earned. So the master told his other servants, take the 1 bag of money from that servant and give it to the servant who has 10 bags. Everyone who uses what they have will get more. They will have much more than they need. But people who do not use what they have will have everything taken away from them. Then the master said, throw that useless servant outside into the darkness, where people will cry and grind with their teeth in pain. All right, so 2 stories, one of which we've actually read before, is in a similar story. But both stories here are painting a picture of that moment when Jesus will return at his second coming and establish his kingdom on the earth. Okay. So the first one about the 10 girls. So we have 10 girls who are waiting for their bridegroom, right? So they all have these oil lamps. 5 of them did not bring any extra oil, and the other 5 did. Okay. And so they're waiting, they're waiting, they're waiting, they're waiting so long, they fall asleep. And finally, someone announces the bridegroom is coming. Okay. So the 5 that didn't have any oil, they ask for some, but they don't get any. So then they have to go into town to buy some. Meanwhile, while they're gone, here comes the bridegroom. He takes the 5 that are still there with their oil lamps, and they go into the feast, close and lock the door, leaving the other 5 out. And he says, I don't know you. I'm not going to let you in. Okay. So we've seen this kind of picture before where God is continuing to offer us his grace. Remember, that offer is out there for everyone to take. All we have to do is just accept it and believe, and that's it. There are no strings attached. There will come a time, however, when the offer will be rescinded. His grace will be taken away, or the offer of his grace will be taken away, and then he will pour out his wrath, and it will be too late for anyone. Okay? So don't waste time. Don't wait till it's too late. Accept God's grace now. Okay? Because you don't want to be left outside when the end times happen, when the tribulation begins. You don't want to be left outside when the kingdom is established, right? And then we see the story about the 3 servants. So it's very similar to one we read about before. We have a man who is God, essentially, and he has these 3 servants. And he gives each servant a different amount of money. He gives one 5 bags of money, one 2 bags of money, and one bag of money. And then he goes away. And so the servants go and do, their various things. The 2 servants that have the 5 and the 2, they go and invest it and double their money, while the one that has the 1 does nothing and just puts it in a hole in the ground. Then the master comes back and asks what they did with it, and both the first 2, they said, "Hey, I doubled your money. I doubled the money that you gave me." And so the master says, "Well done, good and faithful servant. You have done well. You can be trusted with. I trusted you with small things. Now I can trust you with big things. Come and share the happiness with me." But the one who did nothing, who just, sat on it, the master was angry with him because he wasted his potential. He wasted that opportunity. And so whatever he had was taken away and given to the one who had the most, while the one who did nothing was thrown out. Okay. So what he's telling us here is that we need to cultivate and take care of the gifts, the talents, and the treasures that God has given us. Use it for the furtherment of his kingdom, right? So we ought to be doing whatever we can with our money, with our abilities, with our gifts, with our talents, whatever it is. We ought to be doing whatever we can to spread the word of God, spread the gospel of grace to the world, and helping others find God, find Jesus, right? Because when God gives us these things and trusts us with these things, we ought to take care of them. We ought to be good stewards. Everything that he gives us. This is not just limited to money. This also applies to every blessing that God gives us. Your house, your car, your job, everything. You should try to use everything that you have in your life for the furtherment of God's kingdom and to glorify him. When you do, then you are building up more treasure for yourself in heaven. We've read something like that before, where you stockpile treasures in heaven instead of on earth. So when the time comes for you to join the kingdom of heaven. You've got all this treasure waiting for you. God trusted you with a little. Now he's going to give you much, much more. Okay. But if you waste that potential, if you waste that gift and do nothing, then you're going to be left outside, unfortunately. Okay. You'll be trusted with nothing, right? Keep that in mind. Okay, that's all for today. We're going to pick it up there tomorrow. Thank you again for joining me. I sure do appreciate it. I'll see y'all tomorrow.